What up, everybody? Back again here today with coordinate planes. This is the beginning lesson of our playlist. We are going to be talking about the parts of the coordinate plane today. So let's take a look at our objective. Our objective today I will be able to read ordered pairs in the first quadrant, and to do that we're going to have to learn about the parts of our coordinate plane. So let's get started with some mathcabulary. We've got a few different things to write down. I know there's a lot of different definitions we're going to write down first, and it might seem overwhelming, but I think once you see it, you'll realize really how easy this coordinate plane thing is. The first definition, of course, is coordinate plane, which we are defining as a two-dimensional math map. Our x-axis is the horizontal line on the coordinate plane, and our y-axis is going to be the vertical line on the coordinate plane. If you've never seen a coordinate plane before, it will make a lot of sense when I show you the picture, but we just want to kind of get down some mathcabulary first before we do that. Our coordinate plane is split into four neighborhoods, right? So it's four parts of the coordinate plane. They're 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it's kind of like a neighborhood on a map. And again, we'll show you that in a second. And then ordered pair. So the ordered pair are the directions for the coordinate plane, right? If you have a map, you're looking for directions, or you're looking to see which direction things are in. And the ordered pair is what tells us where to go on our coordinate plane. And then our last one is the origin. The origin is the intersection of the x and y axis, right? So you're going to see two lines in a second, and where they cross, that is the beginning of our coordinate plane. That is where the two lines meet and form perpendicular lines.
Let me introduce you to the coordinate plane, the math map that reminds you of the battleship game. You need some help?
You came to InstructaBeats. You did good, kid. 4 quadrants make a bar. Coordinate grid. First, second, third, or fourth. The y-axis runs south to north. The line that runs east to west, we call the line the x-axis.
Thank you for that awesome musical introduction. You should check out that song on YouTube, one of our biggest hits. And like it said, we have our x-axis and our y-axis, right? The two number lines that meet right here at the origin. Okay, this is the beginning of our coordinate plane. And the x and y-axis form four different quadrants, right? We have our first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, and fourth quadrant. So this is kind of like a map of a city, and you have the four different neighborhoods, okay? And when you're getting directions for your coordinate plane, you're always going to start at the origin. You always start right here where the x-axis, kind of like a number line going horizontally, and the y-axis, a number line going vertically, meet. So a lot of you guys have a really good question. You're saying, okay, I always start the origin, but what about my directions? And that's where our ordered pairs come in. Ordered pairs are the directions for our coordinate plane. So you're always going to start right here in the middle, right, at the origin, and then you're going to have two numbers, a pair of numbers that are going to tell you where to go. The first number tells you how far you're going to move on your x-axis, and then the second number tells you how far you're going to move on your y-axis. So if I want to know, okay, well, how do I get to my blue point? What are my ordered pairs? What are my directions for that? My first number, if I always start here, would be that I had to move over 1 on the x-axis, so my x number would be 1. And then my second number in my ordered pair, make that a parentheses a little bit better, okay, would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I have to go up the y-axis 5. So my directions to get to the blue dot or blue point from the origin would be 1, 5. My first number tells me how far I need to move on my x, and my second number tells me how far I need to move on my y. Now if I want to know the ordered pair for my black dot, I always start the origin, and I'm going to move over 1, 2, 3, which means my first number, my x coordinate, is going to be 3, and then then I went up 1 on my y-axis, so my y coordinate is going to be 1. So the directions to get to my black dot from the origin are 3, 1. And again, a lot of you guys may be thinking, okay, I kind of get it, but how do I remember what number goes first? How do I remember if I'm supposed to move on my x or if I'm supposed to go up and down on my y? That's an awesome question. Let's answer it with the song.
You gotta shuffle on the carpet before you climb up the steps. You gotta shuffle on the carpet before you climb up the steps. You gotta shuffle on the carpet before you climb up the steps.
As the song said, the rule of the plane, or the rule of the coordinate plane, you gotta shuffle on the carpet before you climb up the steps. That's how I remember it. You have to shuffle on the carpet, right? Shuffle your feet. And the carpet, we know, is horizontal. You're shuffling either forward or backwards before you climb up the steps. And when you climb, right, you go up or down. And so this is the rule. This is how I remember it. I remember this saying in my head. You got to shuffle on the carpet before you climb up the steps. You have to do your X coordinate and then your Y. And that's always, always true. So let's graph a little bit together. Now, you know in our coordinate plane, we have 4 quadrants, right? We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are our 4 neighborhoods. But when you're doing 5th grade math, you only have to graph in the first quadrant. So you're not going to see the whole coordinate plane. You're only going to look at the first quadrant, and it's going to look something a little bit like this. So we just zoomed in on the first quadrant. You'll see our Y and our X axis right here. So we only have the first quadrant. We didn't draw the second, third, and fourth, which we know are really over here. But when you're doing 5th grade math, you just focus on the first quadrant. So here's our origin. That would be the middle of the whole coordinate plane, but it's going to be down here, okay? And we're going to be graphing on the first quadrant. So let's take a look at an I do problem. So I want to know the ordered pairs of the colored dots. Okay, so again, this is my origin here because we zoomed in on the first quadrant. So I'm always going to start here. And if I want to get to the purple, I need to remember my rule, right? You got to shuffle on the carpet before you climb up the steps. You got to do your X axis, or sorry, your X coordinate, then your Y coordinate. So if I start at the origin, I would shuffle over 9. So my first number, my X coordinate, is going to be 9. And then I need to climb up 1. And so my ordered pair would be 9, 1. Here's what you don't do. I see this a lot. A lot of people like to drag their pencil all the way over here, and they think they need to make the line of how they got there. You don't have to make the line. You're just counting over and then going up. The way I like to think about it is, I'm at my house, and every time I try to find a coordinate, I'm trying to get to my friend's house. I wouldn't drag a paintbrush behind me as I rode my bike to my friend's house, right? I'm going to ride my bike, I'm going to get off, and you'll never see that I was on the road, okay? So that's the same thing. You don't need to leave a trail behind you. You're literally just writing the numbers on how you would get there. So let's get rid of that. Now, if I want to get to my red coordinate, right, again, I go back to the origin. You always start at the origin, and I'm going to shuffle over 6 and then climb up 5. So my X coordinate's going to be 6 because that's how far I had to shuffle to get underneath of it. And then I had to climb up the stairs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my Y coordinate would be 5. The other big mistake that I see a lot is that people don't remember the saying, and they climb the steps before they shuffle. So they would climb up 5 and then go over 6, and they'd write their ordered pair backwards. Well, the problem is, if you do that, if you write your Y before your X, if you climb the steps before you shuffle, you're going to get lost, because 5, 6 is really telling you to shuffle over 5 and climb up 6, and you're going to end up not at your friend's house, right? You're going to end up somewhere else. You're going to get lost, like you didn't listen to the GPS like your parents told you to. Okay, so you got to make sure you always write your X coordinate, then your Y. There's nothing really special about that. It's just what we call a math convention, which means mathematicians just agreed, hey, this is the rule, because if we switch it every single time, people are going to be confused. So they just said, hey, this is a rule, we're going to follow it, kind of like the order of operations, just a math convention. Now, I don't want that black mark on there. And let me erase it. Now I want to know the ordered pair for my blue dot. Okay, so again, my X coordinate comes first. You got to shuffle on the card before you climb up the steps. I'm going to start at the origin. I'm going to shuffle over 2 to get underneath of it. So my X coordinate is going to be 2. Then I'm going to climb up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And my Y coordinate is going to be 8. And so my ordered pair is 2, 8. So this is actually really, really easy. I know there's a lot of vocabulary words, but you've seen them all. X-axis, Y-axis, origin, our ordered pairs, right? And then our quadrants that we already talked about. And again, we're only graphing in the first quadrant today. Let's do a we do here. Now this should be in your notes. If you don't have any notes with you, that's okay. You can check out the link to this video and you'll find some guided notes there that you can print off or just type in Google Docs. If I wanted to get to 8, again, I always start at my origin and I'm going to shuffle over. Now, here is something you need to pay attention to. We didn't number every single dash this time, right? So instead of writing the 1, we just did 2, 4, 6, 8. You have to be a problem solver. You know that there's 1 dash in between 2 and 4. Well, the number in between 2 and 4 would just be 3, right? So all the odd numbers you don't see, and that's okay because you know they're there. Sometimes people just like to save ink and not write all the numbers. Now, if I want to get to the purple, I again would start at the origin and I'd have to shuffle over 8. Okay, so my x coordinate is going to be 8, and then I didn't climb the steps anywhere. I didn't move vertically up or down, which means I just put a 0. I didn't move at all, so I use a number with no value, which is 0. So my ordered pair is 8, 0. Again, something I see a lot of people rushing, and they would put 0, 8. Well, the problem with switching the y and the x and not writing it properly, following the math convention, is if you write 0, 8, you're going to end up at the blue dot right here. Okay, so let's just go all the way to the blue dot. Our ordered pair for the blue dot, if you don't leave the origin, if you don't move at all, you just put a 0 for your x coordinate, and then your y coordinate again would be 8. So your ordered pair is 0, 8. So you can see the difference between having your numbers in the right order. If you did 0, 8 on accident for the purple, you really told me the directions to your friend who lives in the blue house, right? So now let's go to our friend who lives in the red house. Again, we're going to start at the origin and we're going to go 2, 4. Okay, so my x coordinate is going to be 4. And then my y coordinate, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It's not at 10, right? Even though there's no number here, I know 1 after 8 would be 9. So my ordered pair here would be 4, 9. So just double check before you graph what the intervals are on your x and y axis. This time we are counting, we only numbered every 2, but the interval, right, was still worth 1. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I forgot the 5, okay? So just double check your interval because sometimes they'll change those and try to trick you. If you are ready to try this by yourself, go ahead and push pause. If you're not ready, that's okay. You can just do it with me when I go over. We can make it another we do problem. It's okay to fail as long as you learn from it. So you should be learning today. So whatever you feel comfortable with, all right? Hopefully you just paused it if you were ready to and tried it by yourself. So let's just go over our answers really quickly. My ordered pair for the purple, if I start at the origin, should be 1, 6. I shuffled over 1 and then I climbed up 6. My red dot, I started at the origin, I shuffled over 1, so my x coordinate should be 1, and then I didn't move at all on my y coordinate, which means I just put a 0 there. So my ordered pair for the red point is 1, 0. And then the blue point, I start at the origin, I shuffle over 6, which means my x coordinate is going to be 6, and then I climbed up 3, and so my y coordinate is going to be 3, and my ordered pair should be 6, 3. Hopefully you enjoyed this lesson. Please check out our coordinate plane song. It has all the same teaching in it with a much better beat. We really appreciate you checking us out. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to our channel. We would love to have you join our InstructaBeats family. Enjoy your time. Thank you again. InstructaBeats out.